A while back, a young man was accepted to one of the most prestigious universities on the African continent. The young man was ambitious. He wanted to enroll and take on a biology major. The only problem was, at university, science there was rigorous. Science there was exhausting, painstaking, heartbreaking, just like science should be. But the young man was determined. And every exam season, his friends would ask him, "Do you think it's going to be hard this time?" And he would pause, give them a gentle smile, and say, "No." He said, "Humans are incredible. Humans split rocks, carry it on their shoulders, and travel miles across hills and valleys. If humans can do that, then we can do this." That young man's name was Habtamu, my uncle. That young man was a dear friend of both my parents, so much so that they named me after him. And today I want to live up to that name and share with you a little bit of the wisdom that he had. Because I believe that just a little bit can really make a difference. Okay? And to start with, I want you to emphasize that what he did was challenge a narrative. What's a narrative? A narrative is, simply speaking, it's a representation of a situation or a process. And it's a perspective of how we see things. It aligns with our assumptions, with our beliefs, with our values, and really, it's our lens of seeing the world. And narratives can come from many different places. We already heard how it can come from school, how it can come from Greek philosophers, how it can come from your friends, your family, your neighbor. If you don't believe me, think back to the last beauty product commercial you've ever seen. Yes, beauty products, okay? So, a beauty product commercial. Let's think about how a beauty product commercial works. Work with me. I need you to use your imaginations, okay? So, I'm going to take the simple acorn. I'm going to turn it into a beauty product, all right? So, here's how it works. Acorn. Beauty defined. This is your chance. This is your acorn. Now you're worth it. It's not really complete, but I know you want to buy the acorn now. And usually these kind of commercials, they come with a slim young woman in the background or a muscular young man that tell us that this is a beautiful product. Those are beautiful people. This is your way to beauty. The only problem with that is who said they're beautiful? Was it you? You? It was nobody. Nobody defined an objective standard of beauty, and yet these ideas of beauty have been repeated again and again and again. A simple web search will reveal to you the countless number of people who've gone through eating disorders, body shaming, and have even committed suicide because they could not live up to this standard of beauty. Narratives of consequences. A few years ago, I told myself a very simple narrative. I sat down with myself and I said, "Davu, you have a problem." What problem? "Davu, you're a perfectionist." What does it mean? So I said, "Davu, you have trouble finishing things on time, and it's because you're a perfectionist. It's because you have something called executive dysfunction, a very big word that simply means you can't make decisions properly. You spend too much time on one decision. You really are a perfectionist." And over time, I began telling myself, you know what? I can never be more than a perfectionist. This is just who I am. Problem was, I didn't want to be a perfectionist. And I told myself this again and again and again, and eventually my confidence, my belief in myself. But then I realized one thing about narratives that they do not want you to know. No narrative in the universe wants you to know this. It's a secret, so shh. Narratives can be broken. They can be broken. You see, narratives, they want you to think that you are equal to your assumptions, your ideas, your values. They want you to think that's all you are. But the truth is, that isn't true. You're more than your narratives. When I was 5 years old, I got into trouble with my mom. Let me tell you something, that is not a fun experience. And my mother, she called me over, and she sat me down, and she gave me a look. And anybody knows that when your mother gives you that kind of look, "완다, true." And I was 5 years old and I knew this. So I looked at her and I'm like, I'm gay. And she looked at me and she said, "Davu, I'm going to ground you now. But when I ground you, know that I'm not challenging who you are as a person. You are my son." She said to me, "What I am challenging is the attitudes, the behaviors, the mindset, the way of doing things that you've taken on like a garment, as if it's clothes. I'm trying to get rid of those old clothes. Because I believe that my son is so much more than that." I was 5 years old when she said that. I remember it 10 years from now, today. Wise words. She still grounded me. You know, she's wise, but she's also very fair. But she taught me something, and that something is, your narratives don't want you to realize that you are you. You are who you are. You are not defined by your assumptions. And who you are can change, just like your narratives can change. And the first step to changing your narrative, changing your mind today, the first step to change your narrative is to identify it. Okay, so I'm assuming you've all been given bags, right? So I need you to open that bag and find a piece of paper that looks like this. Okay? You all have it. There's also a pen in that bag, I believe. So you can take it out. I'm going to give you homework like a proper teacher. Okay? Take out your pen. Let me know when you're ready. Give me a thumbs up. Okay. Pens are off. I want you to identify your assumptions. Something you said about yourself, something you said about others, something that you want to challenge today. It could be, I can't do something. It could be, you know what, that person is super annoying. It can be, I don't know where they came from, but I know that there's something about them that I don't agree with. And I want you to write it down, okay? Mine is, I've already told you, I'm a perfectionist. I'm doing the homework with you guys. I'm a good person. Write it down. One sentence, a few words, one word. If you can't write it, think about it very clearly. Very, very clearly. Because today you're going to break that narrative. Break it. Okay? You've written it down, I assume. I will test you on this. You better write it down. The next step is to change the angle. Some narratives look like this. But the secret behind why my uncle was so successful, despite of how rigorous, how tiring that environment was, is because his mother and brothers depended on him. He was the breadwinner. And he had one option before him. Either he gets this degree, gets that job, supports that family. Really, there's nothing else. So he refused. He refused to believe he couldn't do it. He refused to believe it would be too difficult. He refused because his perspective of his choices was so far away from the narrative that he couldn't believe the narrative. And that's what we're going to do, because we're going to change the angle from which we see our narratives. Look at those words. I will never. I can't. It's their problem. That one is a student favorite. I'm drowning in stress. We say that a lot because we think it's true, but it's a narrative. Change the words. If it's I can't, change it to I will do it. Or if you're not as confident, make it I'll try. Because words have power. We don't realize it. Motivational speeches tell us, but we don't realize it. Words are so easy. It takes 1 minute. An action that takes effort. Words, it's a minute. If you've ever been in an argument with somebody who you love, and you say something so hurtful, you watch their eyes, watch them heartbroken, you realize that words have very, very significant power. So if you want to change your narrative, you have to change your words. So look at that narrative you've written down. Look at the words you can change. Ones you can make more positive. Forget positive. Ones you can make more invigorating. Because you are determined to break these assumptions. Okay. The third step is the most important one. This step is going to be what decides whether this is going to be a motivational talk or if this is going to be a practical talk. Your narrative is going to sit you down and ask you, what are you going to do about it? Yeah, you said you're going to change, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do? It's not enough. We don't just say our narratives, we live our narratives. If we want to break those assumptions, we have to live the new thing. We have to live those new words. So, what's the first thing you're going to do? Is it going to be to give that person a call at 4 p.m.? Tell them, I've been assuming this about you. I've been saying these things. But I want to get a new agreement. I want to reach new grounds. What are you going to do? That first step, write it down. And write down when you're going to do it. It can be, I'm going to open that new account, I'm going to join that new student club, I'm going to try this, and I'm going to do it at this specific time. Write it down. Because if you don't do it, you're only saying you're going to change your narrative. Your narrative is going to rule you. What you do defines you. The last step is repeat. Repeat, because those narratives were built by repeating your words over and over and over and over again. If you want to change it, you got to take those little steps every single day and move up that escalator. If you want to change it, you got to repeat those new words every single day. Every single day. Morning and night. Repeat it. It may seem simple, but every single word you repeat is going to break that narrative. And why don't you start today? A lot of us don't realize this, but why not start today? I lost my uncle when he was 28 years old. I never got to meet him. He lived his whole life challenging narratives, challenging assumptions. But even he didn't have tomorrow. Who said we have tomorrow? We don't have tomorrow. Start today. It's time we break these narratives. Narratives don't want to be broken. Starting with mine. I am a perfectionist. It's as simple as an acorn, really. Break your narratives. You don't deserve to be left in the dark by your narratives. You don't deserve to be left in the dark by your narratives. You do not deserve to be left in the dark by your narratives. Our narratives have left us in the dark for too long. It is time we break them. It's time we walk to the light. Thank you.